Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing some P.u.n.k Therion test hands. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Jin. And this deck is a ridiculously powerful deck that can go into the grind game and is just absolutely amazing to be able to play with all of the different combos that you have in this deck. This deck is super consistent and just absolutely amazing. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. And definitely give Jin some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So this deck is a ridiculously consistent deck and just absolutely amazing what kind of combos you can actually pull off in this deck, because you have so many different starters to be able to pull off some absolutely insane combos. Being able to summon out your copies of your synchro monsters like Psychic In Punisher, your P.u.n.k Amazing Dragon, and even going into your copy of Chaos Ruler is just absolutely insane. And being able to combine it with cards like your Therion cards just makes this deck absolutely insane, because just being able to summon out a copy of King Regulus, you can basically establish a negate to make sure that all of your plays are going to go through, which is really amazing. But you guys know it's dad rule number one that we had to pile shuffle up the deck before we go into the test hands, because we don't want to run the risk of bricking. But let's go ahead and give the deck a quick little shuffle and then see what we can do for our first test hand, because this deck is absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and draw our first five. So we're drawing a copy of Foxy Tune, a copy of the Colosseum, a copy of Ash Blossom, or a copy of Borea, and a copy of our Psyframe Gear Gamma. So this is actually a pretty good hand right off the bat, and this is why I actually play Gamma in this deck, because when you play Gamma in this deck, when you open up cards like your copy of Foxy Tune or your copy of your Therion Field Spell, these are really powerful plays that you want to protect. And with your copies of Gamma in the deck, it's going to guarantee you that you're going to get those plays to go through, because if your opponent does Ash Blossom you, you're basically going to get a copy of Chaos Ruler instantly to your side of the field while also blocking a negate, which is really awesome. So for this particular hand, right off the bat, I would probably go ahead and activate the copy of the Therion Field Spell, which is just a really awesome card. So once we do, we're going to say that our opponent is going to activate an Ash Blossom, and we're going to throw out a copy of Gamma to our side of the field. Then once we throw out that copy of Gamma, we're going to go ahead and throw out the copy of Driver to the field as well. And then once you do that, you will get the search because you blocked the hand trap. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a copy of King, because Regulus is just a ridiculously powerful card that we instantly want to get to our hand. And this is actually one of the best hands that you can draw in the entire deck. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go ahead and discard the copy of Lily or Borea with a copy of Foxy Tune, because this is going to let us special summon from our deck a copy of Amen, which is a really powerful effect to be able to just get that card out on our side of the field, because it's going to give us an additional search, which is just going to help out the deck so much because we haven't even normal summoned yet, which is just absolutely crazy. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of King to put himself on our side of the field and equip the copy of our Borea, which is really important to be able to equip, because all of your Therion monsters share the ability that you can equip another monster to them by targeting one in the graveyard, special summon them directly from your hand, and then equip them with a Therion monster in your graveyard, which is a really awesome effect to just instantly get a monster on the field. So at this point, you have a bunch of different plays. We can pay the 600 right here to be able to search the deck for an additional P.u.n.k monster. You have the ability right here with these two monsters that you can go in for a copy of your Psychic or your copy of Chaos Ruler, which is a really insane play as well. Or we can even go for another synchro play by going in with a copy of our Amen to be able to search the deck for another card and go in for a fusion play, which is another option for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the fusion play, because that's going to be one of the best bets that we can actually go for in this particular build. So I'm going to pay my 600, and once I do, I'm going to search out from the deck a copy of our Shurikusai, which is a really powerful card to be able to grab. And mine is actually a misprint because it's completely miscut, which is absolutely insane. I actually have a bunch of misprint P.u.n.k cards, which is just really cool because P.u.n.k is a deck that I've played ever since that they were released, and they're just a really fun deck to be able to play overall. And the reason I'm actually going for the search is because it's going to get me even more plays to get some more monsters on our side of the field. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and normal summon out my copy of Shirakusai because I have not normal summoned yet during this turn. And I'm going to go ahead and pay the 600 as well to be able to fusion summon. Now at this point, we're going to go ahead and shift this dice right here because we've actually paid a total of 1,200 life points. So this is going to be the total amount that we've paid during the turn, which is going to be very important for cards like Psychic Punisher. So I'm going to go ahead and fusion summon into a copy of Carp Rising, which is also misprint, which is just cool. I love this, that I've actually gotten misprint versions of these cards, because this one is like completely misstamped, which is just super cool. And then at this point, we can go ahead and use the effect of our Carp Rising, which if you guys don't know what this card does, you can trigger this card to special summon up to 2 punk monsters with different names from each other from your hand or deck, except level 8s. Which is totally fine because we're going to get some really powerful cards on our side of the field to be able to just tribute our copy of Carp Rising, to be able to get another copy of Amon on our side of the field and get the exact monster that we want on our field, which is going to be a copy of our Deer Note. Deer Note is extremely important to be able to get on the field as quickly as possible so we can go in for some really, really insane plays. And you're going to end with pretty much the same board, and this card is just going to sit here down here because it's going to get us a negate to be able to make sure that we're going to get our plays through, which is very important as we're going through our combos. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the board just a little bit, and what we're going to do is go ahead and link summon using these 2 monsters to summon out a copy of Needle Fiber or Hulk Fibrax. And this card is really important to be able to summon to our side of the field because it's going to help us make our copy of King Calamity during the opponent's turn. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and special summon out a tuner monster to our side of the field, which I'm actually going to summon out a copy of Plague Spreader. So at this point, we went ahead and linked those 2 monsters away, and we're going to synchro right here using these 2 monsters to be able to summon out our copy of our Chaos Ruler. And you can actually get a mill 9 right here, which is really insane. So I'm going to just summon it right down here, and we're going to go Chainlink 1 and Chainlink 2 of Deer Note. And Deer Note is a really easy effect to forget, but it actually lets you revive one of your punk monsters when you synchro summon using this card, which is really cool. So then at this point, I'm going to go ahead and use the effect of Chaos Ruler to be able to mill 5 off the top of the deck, giving the deck a quick little shuffle. Now we do get to add a light or a dark monster among those cards from our deck to our hand. So you're going to be fishing for cards like your copy of Crow or other light or dark monsters. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and reveal DD Crow right off the bat. We do play, I think, 3 of them in here, which if you guys would like to check out the deck profile, as always, it is down in the description down below. Duke and a copy of the Endless Machine. Now getting Endless Machine is really good in the graveyard because we can use its effect. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Crow from my deck to my hand and send the rest to the graveyard, which is just really, really good because then at this point we can overlay both the copy of Chaos Ruler and the copy of our Foxy Tomb to make a copy of our Zombie Vampire. Zombie Vampire is extremely good in this particular lineup because getting the copy of Zombie Vampire on the field is going to get us an additional mill 4 and potentially a special summon to the field, which is really good. Always make sure that you do detach the effect for the copy of Chaos Ruler because that's very, very important to be able to get that card in the grave. Let's take a quick look. We do have a light and dark monster in the grave, which is really nice. We have multiple light monsters in the graveyard to be able to use with our copy of our Chaos Ruler to get it back to the field. Now at this point, we're going to go ahead and draw the top 4 off of our deck. And once we do, both you and your opponent mill the top 4 cards off of their deck. And once you do, you get to special summon them, one of them to your field, which is a pretty good effect just to be able to get an additional monster on the field. Totally up to you which one you want to summon. I usually like to summon out my Therion monsters, so I'm going to go ahead and special summon out the copy of Borea, which is a really good card to be able to just instantly get on the field. Because now we can use the effect of King to be able to send this Borea from our side of the field to the graveyard to be able to use its effect, which is really, really good. But we can also use the effect of our copy of our Chaos Ruler in the graveyard to be able to revive itself back to the field by banishing both a dark monster and a light monster from our graveyard to be able to just instantly bring this card back to the field. Now we could keep going with this particular combo if we wanted to by using the effect of Borea to be able to send this card to the graveyard. And once you send this to the graveyard, you're going to be able to search a Therion spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, which is going to be a copy of our draw 2, which is the Therion Charge, which is a pretty good effect, but we're going to have to send our copy of Borea from our field to the graveyard to be able to get that additional draw 2. But that's totally fine because King King can actually send the copy of our Borea on the main monster zone to the graveyard to be able to resolve its effect. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use our copy, or we're just going to hold this in our hand to be able to use it later, which is a really, really good play to be able to do. But you also have in your graveyard the copy of the Endless Engine, which is a really insane card. Let you target a Therion card in the graveyard, and if both are in the graveyard, then you get to add one of them to the hand and place the other on the bottom of the deck. So I can actually use this card to be able to target the copy of Borea, and then I can basically make another play, which is really, really good later on, or I can instantly do it right now if I want to make a copy of Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy, because both of these are a level 4 monster on our, or level 8 on our side of the field. So we can go ahead and overlay both of these on the field to make a copy of Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy. If you want to go that route, it's totally up to you guys if you want to push the field that far. And then you can use the effect of your copy of your Endless Engine to be able to add the copy of Borea back to our hand and then put this card on the bottom of the deck, which is going to be pretty good just to instantly get our copy of the Endless Engine on the bottom of the deck. Don't know why I shuffled it, but we did. Now, at this point, you can go ahead and use the effect of your Lily, special summon her out to your side of the field, and then instantly equip your copy of Yule, giving it a 700 attack point boost. And then you can use the effect of Therion Charge to be able to draw 2 off the top of the deck, which is going to help us out a lot. Because now we have a copy of Endless Engine and an E-Telly in our hand. Then we can use the effect of our copy of our Endless Engine later on to be able to get an additional mill to the graveyard of a copy of King. Now at this point, we can go ahead and pass the opponent. And this is what the field does with this deck all the time. Like, it's really ridiculous what this deck can actually pull off, giving us a spell negate. We're going to get another negate on the field, which is really cool later on, which is just absolutely insane. We have an Ash, we have a Crow to be able to banish something from the grave and to be able to Ash the opponent, and you have the copy of your Zombie Vampire that can go into a copy of Zeus later on. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent, and during their main phase, we're going to be able to use the effect of the Crystron Needle Fiber to be able to special summon from our extra deck a copy of Formula Synchron. Now, Formula Synchron is really good because at this point, we can go ahead and draw an additional card, and now we have 5 cards in our hand. We've established this crazy field with 5 cards in our hand. Then we also have the quick effect of our Formula Synchron to be able to synchro summon using all 3 of these monsters, which the copy of the Chaos Ruler would actually get banished, to be able to summon out from our extra deck a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. Now, the really cool thing about this field is this actually turns your opponent's entire turn off, because now they cannot activate any effects, which is absolutely insane. The only thing that you have to worry about with this card is it can miss timing, which is a little bit unfortunate because it is a win effect, not a just other effect. So this card can miss timing a little bit if you activate it at the middle of a chain, and it will resolve after the chain. It will miss timing, which is a little bit unfortunate, but still getting a 4,000 attack point monster is absolutely crazy. But the reason we actually used the copy of the Chaos Ruler is because this card actually requires a Dark Dragon monster to be able to synchro summon into this card, plus 2 non-tuner monsters, which is very important to be able to go, or 2 tuner monsters, plus a Dark Dragon synchro monster to be able to summon into this card, which is very, very easy to pull off with this particular combo. So you get this really awesome field. We still have 5 cards in our hand, and we've turned the opponent's entire turn off. Now at this point, we're going to go ahead and draw into our next turn into another copy of our Endless Engine that then we can activate to be able to send an additional monster from our deck to the graveyard, like a copy of our King, so we can get an additional negate on the field, which is going to help us out quite a lot to be able to just get that additional negate on our side of the field. I believe we actually do have another copy of our Amen in the deck, so we can actually go in for another play before we even go for a copy of our Therion King. So we're going to do is activate the copy of E-Telly, immediately summon out our copy of Amen, and then we're going to synchro using these 2 cards to be able to go in for a level 11, because it's 2, 4, 6, 8, plus 3 is 11, and we're going to actually summon out a copy of Psychic in Punisher to our side of the field, which you could have paid 600 life points for the copy of your Amen when it was on the field to be able to get you an additional search of, say, like a Foxy Tomb, which you're not even going to use, but it will give you an additional pay 6, which is pretty good because now your Psychic in Punisher can come out even bigger. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of our copy of Reaper or Foom to be able to then equip our copy of King to give us an additional negate on our side of the field. And at this point, we can just go in for game, which we have a lot of damage on board. If our opponent didn't activate a single card effect because of True King of all calamities, or our copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, King Calamity, excuse me, we're gonna have some really awesome damage on the field because we have 16, we have 6, we have 12, we have 18 on top of the 35 right here. We have 4K, we have 3,000. This card is boosted up by an additional 700 because every single one of your Therion monsters have the ability that basically they boost the monster up that they're equipped to by 700 points. So this card is getting boosted up to 21 and then 3,000 on top of it. So you have that really insane board to be able to go in. So I think that pretty much shows how the deck plays, but we're going to go ahead and do one more test stand and see what we can actually draw because this deck is just really, really good. It's super fun to be able to play and you get all these insanely powerful combos with this particular deck. And we went through a bunch of cards. And what's really awesome about this deck is none of it is set in stone what you actually do per turn. You can go in for different plays, which like I could have brought back the copy of Plague Spreader and gone in for a copy of Baron de Fleur with the level 8 that I had on my side of the field by returning a card to the top of the deck, which was an option if you wanted to go that route. There's so many ways that you can push this deck to the limit, which is just really cool. So let's go ahead and do one more test hand and see what we can do. Because this deck is really, really good and really insane. We haven't paid anything yet, so I'm going to go ahead and flip these dice back just to show you guys that we have not paid any life points yet. We will with our copies of our P.u.n.k monsters, but let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next test hand to show you guys some more combos for this deck. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck and then see what we can do. And what's really important is that you want to get your copy of Chaos Ruler, Needle Fiber, and a copy of Plague Spreader on the field, or you want to get Jet Synchron on the field with a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, Abyss with a copy of Formula Synchron on the field as well, because 1, 2, and 9 equal 12, and your copy of 8, 2, and 2 equal 12, so you can go into True King of all, or your copy of King Calamity, which is really important. So let's go ahead and shuffle it up and see what we can do for the next test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of DD Crow, a copy of our Therion Field Spell, a copy of the Bull, a copy of Gamma, and then finally a copy of Endless Machine, or Endless Engine, which is really an awesome hand right off the bat, because at this point we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Disc Coliseum and grab our copy of King from decked hand. But let's say that our opponent did actually ash us, and we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Gamma, getting a copy of Driver on our side of the field, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to just instantly stop the opponent while also getting a Chaos Ruler directly to our side of the field. So this point we're going to go ahead and add our copy of King directly from our deck to our hand because we instantly want to get to that card, or you can actually add a different card if you want to add a different card, which would be an option for you guys if you want to add a different card. Actually, let's just go ahead and add that card from decked hand because we can actually use the copy of the Endless Engine to be able to send our copy of our Borea from our deck to the graveyard, which is really important to send Borea because it's going to get us a search from the deck, which is really, really good. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and I'm going to go ahead and use the effect of my Bull on my side of the field to be able to special summon it. And then we're going to go ahead and attach the copy of our Borea directly back onto it. Then we can go ahead and use the effect of Borea to send itself to the graveyard and then search our Searcher, which is really, really important, or the Draw 2 spell, our Therion Charge, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to draw 2 additional cards from the deck. Because now we have our copy of our Borea back in the graveyard, so we can then just summon it back with our copy of King, and then activate Charge to be able to send it to the grave and draw 2, which is going to help us dig for E-Tellies, Foxy Tunes, all sorts of really powerful combo pieces that we might need. So at this point, we're going to draw 2 off the top of the deck, hopefully getting an E-Telly or a Foxy Tune, and we get a copy of our Amon, which we actually haven't normal summoned yet, which is pretty good. And we drew a copy of Jet Synchron to push it even further. That's what's really cool about this deck, is you're always kind of on the edge because you don't know what you're going to draw into to see what the combo piece is going to be, and you've got to be looking for combo lines the whole time that you're playing this deck. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and Synchro Summon using these 2 cards to be able to summon out a copy of Chaos Ruler. And once we summon out that Chaos Ruler, we're going to go ahead and shuffle the deck. Actually, before we even summon out the Chaos Ruler, it's going to be pretty important to be able to normal summon out that copy of Amon to our side of the field to use its effect, and then search the deck for a copy of Foxy Tune because we don't want to mill out all of our Foxy Tunes by accident. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and shuffle the deck and hope that we don't hit Deer Note. Because if we hit Deer Note, we're going to be in a little bit of a weird spot, but we can go in for Shirakusai, which is another option if you guys want to go that way. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of these two monsters to immediately go in for a copy of Chaos Ruler, and hopefully we don't hit Deer Note. We're going to hit a DD Crow, Ash, a copy of our Amon, and finally a copy of E-Telly. Thank goodness we actually didn't hit it. We're going to add that copy of DD Crow from deck to hand, giving us 2 banishes from the opponent's graveyard, which is going to be pretty good to be able to do with this particular lineup. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and use the Jet Synchron plus the copy of Foxy Tune to immediately go into the deck to be able to grab another copy of our only copy of Deer Note, which is going to be pretty good to instantly get that card to our hand or to our field to be able to then Synchro Summon. Because then at this point we can go in for more plays, but since it's going to leave the field, you actually can Link Summon using this card to be able to go in for your copy of Needle Fiber, which will still get its effect off because you'll go Chain Link 1 and then you'll go Chain Link 2 to be able to bring back your copy of Foxy Tune, and then also bring back to the field a copy of your, let's see, our copy of our Plague Spreader, which is going to be pretty important to just instantly get that copy of Plague Spreader on the field so we can go in for more plays. Let's take a quick look and see how many levels our copy of Bull has, because we might be able to step into a copy of our 2, 4, 6, 7. Unfortunately, it is 7, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you can actually go in for some other plays by just overlaying both of these. And once you do, we're going to make a copy of Zombie Vampire, and you're going to go ahead and detach the copy of Chaos Ruler to be able to then grab into the deck again for another 4 to then go in for some more plays. Hopefully we hit a monster we can special summon, like a copy of Ogre Dance or Foxy Tune, which we hit a copy of Foxy Tune. That's pretty good. Instantly special summon that to our side of the field, and then now we can synchro using these 2 cards on our side of the field to go in for a Baron de Fleur, which is going to give us an additional negate on our side of the field, which is really insane. Like, you have all this field with all those really powerful monsters to just instantly go in for a really, really good field, because you don't even have to step into True King of all Calamity, or you're not True King, but your King Calamity with this particular setup. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of our Chaos Ruler to be able to banish both a light monster and a dark monster from our graveyard, which I think our copy of Plague Spreader might be the only one left in the graveyard, which we can go ahead and get rid of that card if we want to. But let's go ahead and look at the extract and see if there's any other plays we can actually go for from our extract. I don't believe there are. We're just going to go ahead and use the effect. Actually, really neat play that you can actually do. We could actually bring back our copy of our Plague Spreader to our side of the field and go in for another play, or we could bring back our copy of our, let's see, we could actually bring back Jet Synchron to get that Baron de Fleur off the field if we wanted to go in for a copy of Psychic End Punisher, or we could just bring back the copy of Chaos Ruler later on because we had this really big field. If you want to bring back the copy of Chaos Ruler, you totally can bring this card back to your side of the field by just banishing a copy of a light and a dark monster, which you can banish a dark monster from your hand as well to be able to bring back your copy of Chaos Ruler, because it does specifically say that if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish a light and a dark monster in hand or graveyard to special summon this card, except this card. So we can actually bring it back to our side of the field, which is going to be pretty good to instantly get that card back on the field. And if you did negate the opponent with your copy of your Bull at any point with your copy of your Therion monster, you just send this card to the grave. If you did, which will clear up a zone to be able to then put this card back on top of the deck, put the copy of Plague Spreader back on the field, pass over to the opponent, and once you do, you can then go in for a copy of your Formula Synchron, which will then let us draw a card, and then we can go ahead and go 8, 10, 12, go into our copy of our King Calamity, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, which is the most important card to be able to go into. Once we make that card on our side of the field, these cards will actually get banished because they've already used their materials to be able to summon one time off their own effect, so they will be banished. Then we have this really crazy field. Now, this isn't a negate anymore, but you do have the copy of Baron de Fleur, which is a negate, which is pretty good. And we did get the copy of DD Crow to get anything banished that our opponent might have. So you get this really, really good field that you're basically just going to stop the opponent with, which is just really insane. So now at this point, we're going to go ahead and draw for turn into a copy of Shirakusai, which since we have a level 8 on our side of the field, this card's actually a tuner, so we can just normal summon it to the field, go in for a play, summon out a copy of Amazing Dragon or a copy of Psychic End Punisher, either one that you want to summon because they're both generic to the field. I usually like to summon out the copy of Psychic End Punisher and then go in for game with these particular monsters. You can use the copy of the Zombie Vampire again to be able to detach a material and then use its effect again if you want to be able to send the top 4 cards of your deck to the grave, which is pretty good just to instantly get that effect. To basically, if this card is special summon, you can detach a material in this card and then send the top 4 cards from both players' decks to the grave, which you can, if you want to, push a little bit further and then summon out a copy of Ogre Dance to the field, which is going to get us an additional monster on the field at 2,500 just to go in for game. So you have this really insane field. This deck is super fun to be able to play. As you guys can tell, it's very, very, very consistent in what it's trying to do. And you might even be able to push it a little bit further if you had a copy of the Endless Engine in the grave, because then you can grab the exact card that you need, which we actually do, to be able to go in for more plays. And that's the really neat thing about this deck, is you do have some really weird plays in this deck that you basically can just put this card back on the bottom of the deck and you can never deck out as well, which is kind of cool. But being able to get to the copy of King again gives us an additional negate if we need it, if our opponent outs any of these monsters, which is an option for you guys if you want to go that route. So that's pretty much it for the test hand, guys. This deck is absolutely crazy in what it can do. You can have so many different combos with this deck, and there's so many different combo lines. As long as you can get a copy of your Needle Fiber on the field, usually we want to get a copy of Needle Fiber on the field so we can summon out the copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, which just turns the opponent's entire turn off, because what you're trying to do is get this card out on your side of the field with a copy of Plague Spreader out on your side of the field, which I always like to put Plague Spreader on the field, and then put your copy of your Chaos Ruler, because then you can just tag this card out, summon out the copy of the Formula Synchron, get that draw, and then you're going to go with all of these. I actually even do this in my P.u.n.ks, which is really cool when I go into tournaments with P.u.n.k, which is just really cool to be able to summon out this card, to be able to turn the opponent's entire turn off. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. This deck is absolutely crazy. You have so many different combo lines with this particular build, and it's just a really, really crazy deck. It's actually 42 cards, which if you guys would like to check out the deck profile, as always with every test hand video, it's always down in the description down below for you guys to check out the deck profile for this particular build. It's super fun to be able to play, and it just goes in for all sorts of insane combos. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. I'm really glad that Jen actually suggested this one, because this deck is absolutely crazy, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.